Welcome, this is Dr. Andrew. I'd like to welcome you to episode 2 of our common injuries with runners. Today's episode, I'd like to talk to you about iliotibial band syndrome, which some people usually call it IT band syndrome. IT band attaches to a muscle called the tensor fasciae lata. It's a muscle on the kind of front part of the outside of your hip, as well as the glute muscles. It also attaches down through, goes all the way down, the band goes all the way down to the outside of your leg and attaches to the vastus lateralis muscle. And so typically whenever people have pain, it'll be pain on the outside of their knee. It can be quite painful. Usually they'll have pain from 30 degrees of bend to 90 degrees of bend. I actually had this back in 2008 when I first started running marathons. Half marathons at that. It was the Harbor Half in Corpus Christi. I had pain around mile 5, and it continued to cause pain right on the outside of part of her knee. So it can be quite painful there too. So all right, let's talk more about the IT band whenever I get back from a run. Gotta run, guys. See you later. All right, welcome back. I'm back from a run. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the iliotibial band syndrome. It's a tendon that attaches from your tensor fasciae lata muscle all the way down to the outside of your knee. And it can cause some friction around 30 degrees of bend. It can be quite painful. Okay, some key factors that can cause iliotibial band syndrome is one of them is having weak hip abduction strength and hip externalization strength. Whenever you run or even with walking, and if your hip dips down just like that, your knee will go down as well, kind of that position like that. And that causes a little bit of strain right there on the iliotibial band. And another one is as well as doing overstriding. If you're overstriding with your gait, or if you're doing bounding with running. Also, if you're doing, we find with research, if you're slowing your frequency of revolutions during run, that can definitely cause friction on your iliotibial band. So you want to increase your frequency of revolutions while running. Some other factors that can happen is if you're running a race and you're running down a hill, that will cause that hip adduction moment when your hips dip down. Or if you're running on uneven terrain, that can cause some pain as well. Okay, this is where my iliotibial band is at. This is where it inserts at. And this is where it attaches at the outside of your knee there. So this is where it can get inflamed in this area. And so it attaches down to a bone called the Gerdy's tubercle down here. So it goes all the way up through here and all the way up to your hip here. This is where a muscle is called the tensor fasciae lata. So the pain could be down here, but then you can have an issue up here in your hip on that tensor fasciae lata being tight. Definitely you can have weakness in the hip and the glutes there. That definitely, all these areas can affect down here on your knee. And how you can treat this, I'll show you 4 ways to kind of treat that iliotibial band. I'd like to share 4 exercises to help with your iliotibial band syndrome. First exercise is to help strengthen your hip abductors. That's your gluteus medius muscle. That's one that gets weak and that can cause that hip adduction moment. And so what you're gonna do, first you're gonna lay down on a mat or on the floor. And so you wanna make sure that your hips are even. And you're gonna raise your leg up and you're gonna hold it there for about 3 seconds and slowly come back down. So when you go up, you wanna make sure not to go forward and up, because then you'll be using that muscle called the tensor fasciae lata. That muscle's already been active, so you need to come back and get that gluteus medius muscle there. Come up, hold, and then come back down. Come up, hold, and then come back up. So the next exercise that we're going to do is a hip hike exercise to help with that gluteus medius muscle. So now these are going to be the ones that are going to help with your iliotibial band syndrome for a long-term situation. So when I had it, I had weak hip abduction strength. And so there's definitely pictures of myself running. You can see my hip going into adduction, and that definitely was causing a lot of pain on the outside of my leg. So this is definitely a good exercise to do. So you can just find a step stool or step anywhere, or maybe a couple of books. And so you're going to come up, and then you're going to dip down, and you're going to come up. So we're training this side of the hip there. And you're going to do a good 15 or 20 of these. And I would do both sides. Okay, exercise 3 I'm going to show you is rolling your tensor fasciae lata muscle out, as well as your glute muscles. Again, those are muscles that can have pain on them, and then can also affect your iliotibial band. So if they have any pain in them, they can make it weak and have a result of maybe a little bit more friction on that IT band area there. Okay, so what we're going to do is lay on your side, and so that tensor fasciae lata muscle is right here on your thigh, and so you're going to find like a foam roller, roll on top of it here, and if you can, almost kind of lay on top of it, but you're kind of on the side. And if it's sore, you're going to feel it there. So mine's a little sore actually. And so you can find that, you can find a sore spot and just hold it there. The longer you hold it, the better that should feel. Again, that's on the tensor fasciae lata muscle. Okay, and so you can kind of roll to, so the next one is going to do the glute muscles. And so you can kind of cross your leg. And again, you're going to find certain areas kind of right there. I feel a nice spot there. You can kind of roll those muscles out there, and that definitely can help out. And as runners, I think this is important to probably do this every day after we run. We get those micro tears, and again, if you have trigger points in those muscles, they pretty much shut the muscle down, and they're not as effective. And so once the trigger point's gone, your muscle will be a little bit more effective, and that'll make it a little bit easier to strengthen that muscle. Okay. And so the third thing that you're going to do with this exercise series here is that you're going to find that iliotibial band area that is tender there. It's going to be quite sore whenever you touch it, and so you can kind of see that's where the band is at. So you're going to use your thumb and massage down and then relax. Down and relax. So you think of the fibers are kind of running along this way, and so you want to massage perpendicular to the fibers there, so kind of down. And so whenever you have things like this, you kind of developed a little bit of scar tissue, so that kind of helps out with that scarring and helps breaks that loose and helps improve blood flow. You can do this about 3 to 5 minutes. The longer you do this, the better it should feel. It'll start to kind of give you more of a numbing feeling there. So the fourth exercise I'd like for you to work on is working on your running gait. That's very important if you have faulty running mechanics that can result in some sort of pain or overuse. And so one thing that you're going to do is practice on leaning forward, and it's going to take that first step going forward there. And so that's definitely important to do that, as well as making sure that when you land, you want to make sure that you're landing within your hip there. And then whenever you push off, that's where your stride is going to come from, is from your extension, going back there. And so those are important to work on there. So definitely you can do a couple drills, is doing kind of standing here and then pushing off there. Just kind of practicing where you're gonna stand. And also I want you to work on your revolutions of how fast, frequently you're doing your revolutions. You wanna get your metronome and set, at least 180 revolutions per minute to help increase your frequency. So we find that whenever you increase your frequency, that does actually help engage your. Okay, this concludes our video, but I do like to show you a bonus exercise. This is stretching the tensor fascia lata muscle. And so what you want to do is to cross. So if I'm stretching my left side, you're going to cross over and really stretch. You can kind of feel stretching that tensor fascia lata there. Also kind of stretching this side. Hold it for about 30 seconds and do a couple of those a couple times a day. Okay, so definitely I hope everyone enjoyed this video. And if you have any comments about iliotibial band syndrome, or if you want more information about this, please leave a comment. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Keep safe, keep running, and we'll see you next time.